The story starts with a scene of destruction all over by the mighty red dragon, and facing off against it are the 6 heroes. The dragon told the heroes that a mere human could never defeat him. Then, we see Desir Arman, our protagonist, explain that the shadow worlds were causing a huge disaster for humanity. These shadow worlds were covering our world in a mysterious black fog, and nobody knew what was inside it. All they knew was that no living thing could survive in that fog. Desir revealed that the only way to save the world was to conquer these shadow worlds before the fog consumed everything. He vowed to slay the dragon, named Boromir Napoleon, and put an end to this nightmare. Boromir tried to use his fiery dragon's breath on the heroes, but Desir disrupted his magic. Boromir attempted another magic attack, but Desir blocked it too. Desir had studied Boromir's magical patterns and sealed every draconian spell. The other heroes then joined the battle. The knight blocked Boromir's attacks, the warrior attacked him, and the paladin followed suit. The mage transferred all the remaining magic from the other heroes into the paladin, who landed a decisive blow on the dragon, bringing it down. Boromir couldn't believe he had been defeated by mere humans, and he died. The heroes were relieved that they had achieved their goal, and Desir believed they could finally escape this nightmarish world. The knight declared that the world was saved, but the warrior felt it was a bit late for clear messaging. The knight thought they should have been sent back to their world by now, but Desir suggested giving it a little more time. The mage agreed with Desir, noting that out of the 150 million people who fought against Boromir, only the 6 of them survived. Desir mentioned that this world had taken a lot from them, including irreplaceable friends and comrades. The priestess proposed that, since they had finally defeated Boromir, they should talk about something uplifting. The mage, however, insisted they couldn't ignore reality and needed to think about the future, especially since 99% of the mages had died. Desir asked them not to argue, as they had just finished saving the world. The priestess praised the knight for his excellent defense against Boromir's attacks, and the knight appreciated her kind words but says that Desir had contributed more to the victory this time, and the others agreed. The mage recognized that Desir was the reason they survived the battle, and was amazed by his ability to seal Boromir's draconian spells with his magical circle. He wondered why Desir wasn't better known despite his incredible strength. Desir explained that he was a commoner, which the mage found unfortunate, as he believed Desir could have received more support if he had been at the Mage Tower. Rael asked everyone what they planned to do once they returned to their world. The warrior shared that he wanted to visit the homes of his friends who had died and return their belongings as a way to remember their honorable sacrifice. The priestess said she would go back to the League of the Western Kingdoms and take care of the families of the victims. She planned to create a memorial and temple to honor the spirits of those who had lost their lives in this world. The mage expressed their concern about preventing the recurrence of another shadow world like this one. They believed that if a similar shadow world appeared again, it would spell the end for them. Rael then asked the paladin, Ys, what her plans were, but she remained silent. Turning to Desir, Rael wondered if he would return to Havrion Academy. Desir recalled memories of a girl named Romantica, who had told him about her seaside villa and how beautiful the sunlight looked when it reflected off the sea. He remembered Romantica's final moments in this world and admitted that he hadn't made up his mind about his future. Suddenly, the dragon's corpse started behaving strangely. Rafaela was concerned and questioned if the battle wasn't over yet. The mage was sure that Boromir couldn't still be alive, but he suddenly recalled something he had read about dragon hearts. He explained that dragon hearts not only pumped blood but also stored and circulated vast amounts of mana. When the dragon's blood stopped flowing, the stored mana had nowhere to go and caused an explosion. Rael scolded the mage for not realizing this early, but the mage pointed out that this was the first time humans had defeated a dragon. The heroes braced themselves for the impending explosion, realizing that even in their best condition, they might not survive such a powerful blast. Desir attempted to use his magic to disrupt the mana explosion, but it proved ineffective against such a massive amount of magic power. The mage accepted that they might not make it through this, and the other heroes expressed their regret. Desir wondered if this was truly the end for them. The scene changes, and Desir opens his eyes and finds himself in a familiar place, but he's puzzled about how he got there. He notices that he looks younger than he did a moment ago. Then, he hears an announcement and becomes curious. A professor steps onto the stage and welcomes all the new students to Havrion Academy. Some of the girls in the audience find the professor really beautiful, but she quickly hushes their chit-chat. Desir recognizes her as Professor Bridget. She mentions that not everyone who came there will be able to enroll in the academy, and that they will have to take a test. Only the top 600 students will be allowed to enroll, and the test involves clearing a shadow world. Desir is surprised by this and wonders how it's even possible. Professor Bridget reassures the students that the shadow world for the test is artificial, and created just for this purpose. She mentions that they'll hear more about it from their senior students who will support them through the process. The entrance exam for the year 3613 begins, and all the students leave the stage. Desir goes to a corner, confused about why he's at the entrance ceremony of Havrion Academy. He remembers that the battle against Boromir Napolitan started in the year 3613, and they fought for 10 years in a dungeon, causing a lot of destruction. He questions if their fight had any meaning and why they had to go through all that hardship. The scene then shifts to Desir in the Academy's garden, and he feels like it's too real to be a dream. A girl named Ladoria Dorich comes looking for Desir, and wonders why he wasn't at their designated meeting spot. Desir apologizes, and Ladoria introduces herself as a second-year student and Desir's mentor. Desir greets Ladoria, and remembers that she's a talented mage who excels in fire magic and ranked first in the academy. Seeing Desir's expression, Ladoria senses that something's wrong. Desir explains that he's just nervous, and Ladoria reassures him, saying that it's just a shadow world created for the test to assess their combat ability. She learns that Desir is a commoner. Desir states that should not be a problem for his enrollment. Ladoria mentions that Desir being a commoner won't be a problem, but even if he passes the test, he'll only end up in the beta class. Desir explains that the school has a discriminatory practice. It puts nobles in the alpha class and commoners in the beta class, making it difficult for commoners to receive a proper education, even if they have talent. This practice has hindered many talented mages. Ladoria then leads Desir into the academy building, and Desir doesn't seem surprised by the magnificent structure. This makes Ladoria suspicious. Desir mentions that he has seen a similar building before, but Ladoria doesn't believe him because there's no facility as grand as this one. Ladoria guides Desir to the test venue as they are running late. On the way, they encounter a water mage named Elheim. Desir recalls that Ladoria and Elheim don't get along well. Elheim comments on Ladoria taking a while to get there, and makes a remark about her height. Ladoria counters that Elheim is still as crude as ever. Elheim expectedly insults Ladoria, calling her a despicable fire mage, but Ladoria reminds him that he recently lost to her in a battle. They argue a bit more before Elheim changes the subject. Elheim wonders if Ladoria is Desir's mentor, and asks Desir for his name. When Desir reveals he's a commoner, Elheim can't believe it and says it's what he expected from Ladoria. He dismisses Desir's chances in the test, saying it won't even be a competition. Ladoria is puzzled by Elheim's words, and he leaves, telling Ladoria to look forward to the test. Before he goes, he advises Desir to give up on the test since even if he passes, he'll end up in the beta class. Desir suggests they head to the testing site, noticing that Ladoria is upset. She tells him that he must pass the test while they head there. Desir realizes that this really is the past. After entering the testing grounds, he desperately looks for someone. Suddenly a girl calls him out and tells Desir to stop looking around and settle down because it's embarrassing. It turned out she is Romantica. Desir then recalls his memories of Romantica and the tragic scene of her death. The story continues with Desir expressing his relief at finding Romantica safe. She's curious about how he knows her name and wonders if they've met before. Desir explains that he saw her name on a board, and Romantica realizes they're in the same testing group. She wishes him luck and then leaves. Desir reflects on the fact that he does know Romantica and remembers the pain he felt when he lost her. He's determined not to let her go through such a difficult experience again. Afterward, Ladoria informs Desir that he's in Group D for the test. She explains that the test is a race in the Aran Plains, which is a beginner level of the Shadow World. She reassures him that it's not a dangerous place, even though it's called a Shadow World. The Shadow Worlds used at Havrion Academy are created specifically for testing, and have safety measures in place. Even if someone gets severely injured, they can be evacuated immediately. Elheim then informs Desir that this test allows the use of magic and attacks against other participants. He firmly believes it's impossible for Desir to pass the test. Loria chimes in, saying they won't know the outcome until they try, but Elheim is already convinced of the result. He introduces his ment, Aziz Kingscrown, describing her as a magic knight who excels in ice magic. She's also a high circle mage and can wield vision magic, which is nearly impossible to counter. Desir recognizes her abilities well and mentions that she's even better with a sword than most. Aziz is expected to become a dependable teammate in the future, despite her limited conversation. Ladoria checks out Aziz's records, prompting Elen to wonder if Ladoria's enthusiasm has diminished. Ladoria clarifies that Elheim was simply fortunate in his ment assignment, which doesn't necessarily reflect his skills. Elheim, on the other hand, believes it does reflect his personal qualities and asserts that a commoner like Aziz is a perfect fit for someone like him. He then departs. Loria encourages Desir, acknowledging that his chances aren't great against a magic knight, but she advises him not to give up. Desir expresses his gratitude to Ladoria for the encouragement. The participants of Group D are summoned for the test. They use a warp gate to enter the Shadow World. In this world, their goal is to reach the finish line, and only the top 3 participants will pass the test. They are allowed to use magical attacks, interference, and various methods, but if they receive fatal damage, they will be disqualified. The participants line up at the starting point. Desir notices that Aziz survived until the end, just like he did, and he wonders if she also retained her past memories when coming to this world. He's unsure about what's going on in her mind. Then, Aziz calls Desir by his name, surprising him. Aziz explains that she checked the roster before the match and mentions that Desir is at the lowest circle with below-average physical ability. Even if he continues training, she believes he doesn't have much of a future. Desir concedes that she's right, and he thinks that Aziz may not have her past memories. Aziz assures Desir that he doesn't need to be wary of her, as she has no interest in attacking the weak. Desir thanks her for the reassurance. The race begins after a countdown, and Aziz takes off at full speed. 3 other contestants follow closely behind her. Romantica and Desir also start running. Along the way, Romantica notices a small animal and finds it cute. Desir is surprised that Romantica still likes such things, and Romantica questions what he means by still. She suggests that Desir doesn't know much about her, and wonders if he's trying to flirt with her. She advises him to focus on the race, and Desir agrees, realizing that they could both be disqualified at this rate. Romantica asks Desir to stop acting so familiar with her, and Desir apologizes while smiling. Romantica is bothered by the expression on Desir's face, but he can't help it because he really missed her. Suddenly, Desir notices something up ahead and pushes Romantica to protect her from an incoming attack. It turns out the attack was launched by another participant in the race. Romantica uses her Wind Strike spell to counter the attack. The other participant uses a Fire Rod spell to defend themselves, and the 2 spells collide. Romantica's spell manages to take out the other participant by causing fatal damage, leading to their disqualification from the test. The announcement of the disqualification reaches the other participants. Romantica acknowledges that she owes Desir for looking out for her, but she believes she settled the score with her successful attack. Desir suggests they catch up because the other participants are quite ahead of them. Romantica had planned to use a specific spell later, but she decides to use it now. She casts a spell called Arrow Sweep in the direction of the remaining participants. Meanwhile, the teachers overseeing the test find out that Groups A and C have finished their test. Groups D and F are the ones currently being tested. They believe everything is going smoothly, and note that the candidates this year are excellent. One of the teachers mentions the presence of a magic knight among the candidates, and another teacher agrees, emphasizing that this is how nobles should be. The teachers also mention that they've heard there is a commoner in Group D and express pity for the individual for being in the same group as a magic knight. The scene shifts to one of the remaining participants, who thinks that while Aziz is fast, he should be able to pass if he maintains his current pace. Suddenly, a gust of wind sweeps over the participants in the front. One of them feels that the wind isn't strong enough to blow him away, so he stands his ground. He notices that Aziz is cutting a path through the wind and still moving forward. However, the unnamed participants behind them get hit by an uprooted tree and are disqualified for taking too much damage. Romantica then tells Desir that it's his turn now and advises him to drop out. She mentions that the expression on Desir's face irritates her. Desir is confused about her request, and Romantica explains that she's trying to talk him out of continuing before he gets hurt. She tells Desir to drop out right now if he understands. However, Desir refuses to drop out, surprising Romantica. She wonders if Desir is being foolish. Desir maintains his smile, but Romantica asks him to stop. She then casts numerous magic circles in an attempt to attack Desir. She warns him that she's going to hurt him so badly that he might die, but reassures him that they can't die in this place. Romantica decides to use the Wind Strike spell on Desir, and attempts to leave, thinking the fight is over. But to her surprise, Desir is unharmed and even impressed that Romantica can cast so many spells at the same time. Desir explains that Romantica prioritizes speed, so her control over the spells is weak, and making slight adjustments to the trajectory is enough to avoid her attacks. Romantica can't believe it and insists that there's no way Desir can beat her. She tries to attack again, this time using the Venom Wind spell, but Desir manages to divert her attack once more. Romantica notices that Desir is using an inversing spell, and she's baffled because typically, someone needs to be at a much higher circle than their opponent to invert their spell. This should be impossible since Desir is at the lowest circle. She attempts to attack him again, but Desir cancels her spell once more. This time, Romantica realizes that Desir truly did invert her spell, and she wonders if it means his skills are far superior to hers. Desir suggests they finish the fight since he has other opponents to defeat and can't stay here for too long. Romantica casts multiple spells at once, thinking Desir can't invert all of them simultaneously. However, Desir starts inverting all of Romantica's spells and believes she is strong but not strong enough. He fears that the same future will repeat itself. He acknowledges that Romantica can become even stronger, but to achieve that, he needs to defeat her now. Desir successfully inverts all of Romantica's spells and reveals 3 key points Romantica overlooked. First, he can do more than just inversing spells. Second, he has been fighting others all along. Third, the test isn't solely about magic skills, but also about reaching the goal. In this test, they won't die even if they receive fatal damage, allowing him to use unconventional strategies. Desir then uses a grease spell on himself to remove friction, and launches a fireball spell to propel himself toward the finish line. He catches up to Azist near the finish line, surprising everyone. Azist realizes that Desir is about to overtake her in the race, so she decides to stop and confront him. She acknowledges that her earlier statement about Desir being weak was incorrect, especially since he managed to defeat Romantica. Azist then casts a spell called Magic Arrows of Prey to attack Desir, but he begins to invert her spells after analyzing them. Azist is determined not to give Desir a chance to invert all her spells. She uses another spell to attack him swiftly, but Desir adjusts the spell's trajectory to avoid fatal damage. Azist decided it was time to finish the race with a powerful attack. Desir anticipated her move and counterattacked. Azist's attack managed to hit Desir, but he skillfully changed its path. Desir employed his grease spell once more and propelled himself with a fireball. With his quick thinking and adaptability, Desir raced to the finish line and claimed the top spot in the test. Azist and Romantica completed the race shortly after him. Desir believes that both Azist and Romantica need to become stronger to overcome the tragedies they've faced. The scene then shifts to a student named Donetta Haddon, who finishes first in the Group F qualifiers and notices Romantica in the Group D qualifiers, prompting a smile from him. The story continues with the teacher explaining how they've sorted new students into classes based on their test results, magical abilities, and family histories. They notice that there are no commoners in the top class called the Alpha class. Other teachers reveal that the Alpha class is exclusively for nurturing the chosen mages, and commoners aren't accepted because they lack education. The commoners should just be happy to be in the academy, say the teachers. The headmaster receives a recommendation for a commoner, Desir Arman, to be placed in the Alpha class from Professor Bridget. Students check their class placements, and the noble students are pleased to find themselves in the Alpha class, thinking it's only natural. However, Desir is placed in the Beta class, which worries him. He is more concerned about Romantica, who is also in the Beta class. Romantica finds the Beta class's classrooms run down and old, questioning when the place was built. The teacher explains that mages are ranked in circles, from 1 to 7, with 1 being the lowest and 7 the highest. To be in the Alpha class, students must be at least in the 2nd circle, but everyone in the Beta class is only at circle 1. Romantica wonders if her circle is actually 2. The teacher acknowledges that their skills won't be enough for the real Shadow Worlds, but wishes them luck. Romantica feels bad about being in the Beta class and wonders why she has to share a class with Desir, who defeated a magic knight. Desir remembers a meeting with Professor Bridget after the class placements. She was glad he remembered her and wished he could be in the Alpha class, but other professors strongly opposed it. Desir thinks the professors have created a divide between commoners and nobility, but believes there's untapped potential among the commoners and vows to awaken their talents. The scene shifts to Romantica, who's feeling down about being placed in the Beta class. A guy named Donetta Haddon approaches her and asks if she's Baron Eru's daughter. Romantica confirms, and she's curious about who he is. Donetta introduces himself as a new student in the Alpha class. He explains that he's looking for party members and mentions the Blue Moon, a top party in the academy made up of Alpha class students. Donetta thinks Romantica would be a great addition and offers to recommend her to the party. In return, he asks her out on a date. Romantica is embarrassed and mentions they just met that day. Donetta insists, saying it was love at first sight, and he can't believe a noble like her is in the Beta class. Romantica asks for some time to think about it, and Donetta agrees. He gives her a Chewin, a gift from his hometown, with a necklace inside. Romantica can't accept it but thanks him. Then, Desir approaches Romantica from behind, startling her. She asks him what he wants. Desir makes a similar proposal as Donetta, but Romantica rejects him, stating she'd rather join the Academy's best party than one created by a new student. Desir believes this was a big mistake on Romantica's part, Frustrated, Romantica tells him to go away. Desire hands her a letter and asks her to read it in private, whispering that she should get rid of it after reading. He leaves, saying he'll wait for her answer. Romantica reads the letter and becomes angry. Desire believes that the contents of the letter must have upset her. He then spots a blue-haired student and thinks he's finally found him. The scene shifts to Desire watching a student named Pram Schneider in the training grounds. Desire recognizes Pram as one of the fastest swordsmen he met in his past life. He believes that if Pram was that strong without proper training, he can become even stronger this time. Romantica joins them, curious about how Desire found out. Desire mentions that practice is starting, and Romantica spots Pram, thinking he's cute and wondering how someone so cute can exist. Pram selects a great sword for practice, and Desire wonders about his choice. Romantica questions if he can handle such a large weapon. In Pram's practice match against a noble from the Alpha class, he swings his sword and keeps pushing the noble back with his powerful blows. Romantica is impressed by Pram's strength. However, Desire notes that Pram is swinging his sword blindly, and this makes the noble angry. The noble attacks Pram relentlessly, but Pram falls for a feint and gets disarmed, leading to his surrender. Romantica wonders why Pram chose a great sword and thinks it didn't work out for him. The noble continues to physically assault Pram. Desire intervenes to protect Pram, stating that the match is already over. The noble tells Desire to stay out of it, which makes Desire wonder if the noble is jealous of someone more talented. This angers the noble, and he tries to hit Desire with the sword, but it breaks. Pram notices this, and Desire tells the noble to be content with winning the match. The noble gets scared and leaves, warning Desire that he won't forget this. The scene shifts to Pram treating Desire's injured hand. Desire mentions he's fine because he used magic to block the strike. Romantica remarks on Desire's recklessness. Pram finishes bandaging Desire's arm and apologizes for involving him in the situation. Desire reassures Pram that it was his choice and asks him not to blame himself. Pram is concerned that Desire made an enemy from the Alpha class because of him. Romantica, while crying, finds Pram really cute. Desire insists that he's genuinely okay, and Pram realizes he hasn't introduced himself. He does so, and Desire and Romantica introduce themselves as well. Pram asks Desire to use his first name, making Pram blush. Desire is happy to see Pram's happiness, even if he's unsure why Pram is blushing. The scene shifts to Pram thanking Desire once again, telling him that he can ask for help whenever he needs it. Desire agrees and says he'll take Pram up on that offer someday. Pram then leaves. Desire starts wondering about what Romantica wanted to talk to him about, and the scene cuts to them talking in a secluded spot. Romantica asks Desire if he's told anyone about the contents of the letter. Desire says he hasn't, but the professors at the academy are already aware of it. This is the reason she was placed in the beta class, even though she's a noble with incredible magical skills. Desire explains that in Pram's kingdom, located several kilometers away, there was a commoner merchant who became wealthy through trade. This merchant purchased a title from a poor noble and adopted the Aru surname. This happened when Romantica was just 4 years old. Desire emphasizes that one can't change their commoner background even if they buy a noble title, which is what the professors at the academy believe. Romantica acknowledges that she's aware of this, and Desire advises her to decline Donetta's offer. He points out that the Blue Moon Party is open only to nobles. Romantica is confident that Donetta will protect her, but Desire reminds her that Donetta referred to commoners as trash. He's certain that Romantica can imagine what might happen if he discovers the truth. Desire then asks Romantica if she'd like to join his party. Romantica wonders if Desire will reveal her commoner background if she refuses to join. Desire reassures her that he would never do that. He mentions that he would just start a party with Pram alone. Romantica contemplates forming a party with Pram and thinks it wouldn't be fair for Desire to keep Pram all to himself. She expresses her suspicion toward Desire, noting his constant smiling and extensive knowledge about her family. Romantica brings up his victory over a magic knight and calls his inversing spell unfair. Desire asks her for her answer. Romantica decides to join his party, stating that she'll uncover his secret no matter what. The story continues with Pram sitting beside her mother. Pram's mother tells him that the sword is a symbol of her father's love. She says that as long as the sword keeps shining, his father will always be thinking of them. She then gives the sword to Pram. Pram holds the sword, but suddenly it starts to break and disappears completely. Pram wakes up from his sleep, revealing that it was just a dream. The scene then shifts to Desir, Pram, and Romantica going to Professor Bridget to register their party. The professor notices that Desir has enough party members and offers them tea and cookies. Pram takes a cookie, and Romantica thinks that Pram is really adorable. Professor Bridget gets to the point and asks Desir why he wants to form a party. Desir's goal is to move up to the Alpha class by winning the ranking tournament, which surprises everyone. Professor Bridget questions if Desir realizes how tough this goal is, and Desir confirms that he does. Pram wonders if getting promoted is really that hard, and Professor Bridget explains that it is. She describes the ranking tournament as an exam to determine students' ranks, held with both the Alpha and Beta classes. To participate, a party must have 3 to 6 members. The exam takes the form of a battle between two parties, and the rank of the winning party improves. Romantica thinks having more members in a party would give them an advantage. However, the professor clarifies that individual achievements are essential. It's not just about defeating opponents, it's about how much each member contributes to the party's victory. The ranking tournament's purpose is to evaluate students' skills for the qualifying round. Winning parties advance to the final rounds held in a shadow world. The top 9 participants receive the title of single rankers. Becoming a single ranker allows students to move from Beta to Alpha class, earning the name Promotional Tournament. However, no one has ever been promoted before. Romantica acknowledges that the Alpha class has a significant advantage, making the situation seem very one-sided. Professor Bridget mentions that in past exams, all the top students came from the Alpha class, making promotions appear impossible. Desir explains that this is precisely why it's worth trying, and he believes that if a party of 3 Beta class students becomes single rankers, it would prove the professors wrong about Beta class not being worth teaching. Professor Bridget jokes about being a professor there too, and Desir apologizes. Bridget points out that if they become single rankers, they could trigger changes in the Academy's system. She admires Desir's determination and asks Romantica and Pram if they agree to form a party with Desir after learning all this. The scene then shifts to Desir and his group heading to the training area. Romantica didn't know such a place existed in the Academy and thinks it's nice to practice as much as they want. Desir explains that only the Alpha class can use this facility. They stand near the room, and Desir points out that this is the space they can use. Upon opening the door, they find the room in disarray, creaky floors, and dust everywhere. Romantica find it hard to believe. Both Pram and Romantica are in complete shock. Romantica takes a step and the floors start creaking. Pram remarks that it's quite different from what they saw earlier, but Desir says that they will have to adjust with it. They notice some rats in the room, which startle Pram and Romantica. The rats quickly retreat to their holes. Desir suggests they clean up the room, but Romantica is fine with dust and spider webs, not with rats. Desir explains there are no other rooms, and Romantica insists she can't stay there. To deal with the rats, Desir decides to plug their holes, and he asks Romantica to tidy up the room. Though she's still uneasy, Desir is determined to use the space, causing Pram to faint. The scene changes as Pram wakes up, noticing that the room now sparkles. Desir is pleased that Pram is awake, and Pram apologizes for making him work with an injured hand. Desir reassures him not to worry and suggests they get going since he's awake. Romantica decides she'll take a shower, but Desir reminds them that they are training to become single rankers. Romantica recalls the moment when Professor Bridget asked if they still wanted to join Desir's party. She thinks that everyone in the Alpha class is much stronger than her, and she doubts she can become a single ranker. Desir then mentions that he thought Romantica was going to uncover his secret, and Romantica admits that Desir's behavior can be frustrating. Still, she agreed to join his party. Pram chimes in, saying he also wants to join to spend more time with Desir. Professor Bridget then approved Desir to form the party. In the present, Romantica reflects on how she knew she shouldn't have joined Desir's party, but she's willing to train if that's what he wants. They all head to the training room, and there, Desir draws a circle on the wall. He explains that he wants Romantica to improve the accuracy of her magic. Romantica claims to be pretty good at magic and demonstrates by using several spells at once. She manages to hit the circle with some windstrike spells. Desir then challenges her to hit the center of the circle with all of her spells, but Romantica thinks it's impossible. Desir believes they have no chance against the Alpha class unless she can achieve it, and he's confident she can because her future self mastered this skill. Desir suggests that Romantica could be the room cleaner until they graduate if she lacks confidence. Romantica asks what he wants her to do, and Desir hands her a ball, instructing her to move it to a circle. Romantica tries to throw the ball, but Desir clarifies that as a mage, she should manipulate the air around the ball to move it to the circle. Romantica struggles to figure it out, but Desir encourages her to use her wind magic as she normally does. He tells her to visualize the wind. Romantica does this, imagining the wind's feel and how it blows, and successfully moves the ball. Desir is amazed that she got it on her first try and asks her to repeat the exercise while it's fresh in her memory. Romantica is delighted to receive a compliment. Now it's Pram's turn. Pram wonders if Desir will teach him swordsmanship, but Desir says there's nothing he can teach Pram. Pram questions why, and Desir explains that Pram has already perfected his skills as a swordmaster and should be strong enough to win the tournament as he is. Pram expresses doubt, but Desir believes Pram should be fine if he shows his true skills. He remembers how Pram's swordsmanship was excellent with a rapier. Desir asks Pram why he chose a great sword during their recent fight, as it's not Pram's usual style. He thinks Pram's weapon should match his agility, like a rapier. Pram wonders if he needs to talk about this, and Desir explains it's important for their party's overall combat skill. Pram asks Desir to come with him. On their way, Pram wonder if Romantica's training is going well. Desir says that her training is going very well, and he trusts her. Desir reassures Pram, saying he trusts her as much as he trusts Pram. This makes Pram happy, and he takes Desir to his room. Pram tells Desir that he doesn't know what his father looks like. His father was a noble, and his mother was a commoner. He was born out of wedlock, and the rapier is the only thing his father left behind. Desir realizes this is the same weapon Pram uses in the future. Desir wonders if he can see the rapier, and he shows it to Desir. Desir notices it's really light. Pram explains that when he was 6, he started learning about swords because he wanted to see his father. He wanted to be a respectable son. But before his mother passed away, she warned him not to try to find his father, as he lived in a different world. She never told him his father's name until the end. Desir thinks that, for a noble, having a child with a commoner would be seen as a disgrace, and if Pram had gone to see his father, he might not have survived. Pram reveals that he enrolled in Havrion Academy to find his father. Many nobles from different countries come here, so he thought he might get some information. He hoped that getting the rapier appraised would provide a clue, but he was told it had no value as a sword and wasn't something a noble would leave. Pram feels devastated, thinking that his father's love for him and his mother was the reason for the rapier, but now it seems like worthless trash. He decides he'll never use the sword again. The scene shifts to Pram training with a great sword the next day. Romantica is also training and proudly says she mastered it in just 3 days. Desir praises her, but the ball is still not inside the circle. Then Desir remembers the item Donetta gave Romantica and asks Pram if he can see his sword again. Pram sadly explains he can't show it because he sold it. We see the store where Pram sold his rapier, and the store owner is laughing upon seeing it. The story continues with Pram and Desir in a market that Desir finds quite familiar, almost unchanged over the years. He remembers visiting this place in the past, long before things took a different turn. Pram, however, leads Desir to a hidden alleyway, a place Desir doesn't recognize. In this hidden spot, Pram guides him to a shop where he once sold his sword. As they enter the shop, Desir notices a strict store policy: no refunds, no matter what. This policy strikes Desir as a sign that the shop owner is really focused on making money. Pram, though, has no desire to take the sword back. He doesn't want to hold it again. However, Desir believes the sword deserves another chance. They both enter the shop, and Desir can't help but notice the tight security in place. There's even a guard present. The shop's owner introduces himself as Wujikyun and asks if they are here to buy or sell. Desir expresses his desire to buy the rapier that Pram sold. Wujikyun reiterates their strict no-refund policy, but this is exactly why Desir wants to buy the rapier. Wujikyun then shows Desir the rapier, but it's not seen as a valuable sword. Wujikyun explains that its worth lies in something other than combat. It's a kemuvin, a special item with a different kind of value. It's typically used by nobility to give as a gift to their loved ones. Desir is confident in recognizing this unique item, as he's seen one before. Wujikyun appraises the kemuvin's value at 40 silvers, a significant increase from the mere 3 silvers Pram had received for it. To Desir's dismay, Pram had been unaware of the kemuvin's true nature. Wujikyun explains that Pram had hoped to appraise it as a sword, which severely undervalued it. Now he's selling it as a kemuvin, commanding a much higher price. Pram becomes angry and calls Wujikyun a swindler, but Desir intervenes. He acknowledges that Wujikyun is right in this instance. It's a matter of business. Desir, without hesitation, agrees to buy the rapier for the 40 silvers. Wujikyun, however, regrets not asking for a higher price, given Desir's willingness to pay. Desir takes possession of the rapier, examining it closely. Wujikyun, perhaps a bit cynical, suggests that simply looking at it won't help. Opening this intricate item requires skills beyond the reach of an amateur. Desir then uses his magical X-ray vision to see the sword inside its scabbard and notices something written on it. He hands the sword to Pram, who hesitates to take it but eventually does so upon Desir's insistence. Desir instructs Pram to press a groove on the sword's hilt and draw the blade. When Pram does this, he's astonished to see a shining blade inside. It's unlike any metal he's ever seen, not iron or silver. Desir reveals that this metal is called blancium, harder than steel and lighter than a feather. Blancium is used to craft the finest weapons. Pram realizes that this is the very weapon he once wielded in a past life. Desir suggests that they should leave, but the shop's guard blocks their way. Desir asks Wujikuin to remove the guard, and Wujikuin agrees to do so once they leave the sword behind. Desir points out that Wujikuin sold him a chemuvin, and he paid for it. Wujikuin claims it's a different story if the sword is made of blancium. Desir suspects that Wujikuin might be going back on his word, and the guard refuses to let them leave, stating it's what his master wants. The guard then attacks Desir, but Desir skillfully dodges the attack. The guard tries to attack Desir again, but Pram steps in to protect him, stating that he doesn't like fighting but won't hold back if they intend to harm Desir. Desir then playfully reminds Pram that he had vowed never to use that sword again, which flusters Pram. In response, Desir reassures him that he's just kidding and asks Pram to demonstrate his abilities instead. The shop's guard seizes this moment to attack Pram, but Pram skillfully dodges the assault. Desir believes that the sword suits Pram perfectly, but he also notes that Pram's opponent's attacks could be lethal if they land. He thinks Pram still lacks experience and wonders if he can win this fight. As the battle unfolds, the guard notices Pram's determined eyes, which impress him. The guard launches an attack, and Pram dodges before delivering a counterattack. However, the guard's defenses are strong, and Desir observes that Pram's strikes have been too shallow. He suspects that Pram might be struggling to gauge the sword's distance accurately. Desir realizes that if the fight continues like this, Pram will be at a disadvantage. The guard is starting to understand Pram's fighting style, and Pram will need to target the guard's vital points to secure a victory. Pram attempts this, but the guard anticipates his move and counters with a kick, knocking Pram down. Desir encourages Pram to believe in his abilities. Pram then notices something written on his sword, which ignites a newfound determination within him. He ponders who Desir truly is and whether Desir already knew the secrets of the sword and the words inscribed on it. However, Pram decides to set these questions aside for now and focuses on winning, as Desir believes in him. He attempts to attack the guard from behind, but the guard anticipates the move and strikes Pram. In a swift move, Pram slices the guard's sword in two and knocks him out with a blow to the chin. Desir checks on Pram's well-being, and Pram assures him that he is fine. Pram acknowledges that if not for the sword, he would have been the one lying on the ground. Desir suggests that it's time to leave, but Wujikuin informs them that the door leading outside can only be opened by the guard they just defeated. If they want to leave, they'll have to abandon the sword behind. In a decisive move, Pram slices the door, and together they exit the shop. The scene shifts to Pram and Desir as they make their way back to the academy. Along the way, Desir asks Pram if he's hungry, and Pram admits that he is. Desir kindly buys skewers for both of them, and Pram expresses his gratitude for the sword and the skewers. Desir downplays the favor, saying that everyone has their own trouble, and maybe he shouldn't have interfered with Pram's issues. However, they're now a team, and helping a friend in need is natural. This brings tears to Pram's eyes, and Desir wonders if Pram doesn't like skewers. Pram clarifies that it's not about the food but the fact that so much had happened to him before he came to the academy. He had lost his beliefs and was uncertain about what he should do. Now, he has a friend he can rely on, and it makes him happy. They then enjoy their skewers together, and Pram expresses his gratitude to his parents, determined to walk his path with his friend using the words his father left for him. The scene then shifts to Romantica, who is still practicing to control the ball. She finally manages to get it inside the circle, and wants to share her achievement with Desir, but then she remembers he's not around. Romantica goes on to cast several wind strike spells, aiming for the circle on the wall. She successfully lands all of them inside the circle. Afterwards, she heads to the Alpha class and meets Donetta there. They both go to the Alpha class cafeteria, where Romantica is pleasantly surprised by the delicious food. Donetta encourages her not to be shy, and Romantica enjoys the meal without any hesitation. She praises the food, and Donetta asks if she has come here to give her reply. Romantica confirms that she has, and Donetta mentions that he will introduce her to the members of Blue Moon. She returns the chemuvin to Donetta, and he wonders if she doesn't want to go out with him. Romantica clarifies that she doesn't and reveals that she has already joined a party in the Beta class. Donetta finds this perplexing and wonders if she was forced to join that party. Romantica explains that she made the choice of her own free will. Initially, she didn't like it, but now she's having fun. The leader of her party is helping her improve her skills. Romantica brings up Donetta's earlier comment about Beta class being a group of commoners considered trash, and wonders if he has no intention of changing that view. Donetta asserts that he doesn't, which surprises Romantica. She then shares a surprising revelation: she used to be a commoner. Donetta's face contorts in shock upon hearing this. He asks Romantica if she's joking, and she insists that she's not. Romantica explains that this is why she ended up in the beta class despite being a noble. However, she feels fine about it now, as she believes her new party won't view her the way Donetta just did. Donetta admits that he wouldn't have invited Romantica to his party if he had known she used to be a commoner. He appreciates her honesty, and Romantica finds it annoying that everything turned out just as Desir had predicted. She realizes there's nothing she can do about it. Romantica then informs Donetta that her party plans to move up to the Alpha class, and this makes them rival. Donetta confidently declares that he'll defeat everyone in her party. Romantica urges him not to underestimate them, but she eventually leaves. Donetta becomes angry and recalls a traumatic childhood memory. Commoners in his domain revolted against the nobles, burning down his home and executing his father. He watched helplessly as it all unfolded. In the present, he harbors deep resentment, believing commoners are nothing but dirty trash. The scene then shifts to a newspaper agency that discovers a beta class party is going to participate in the ranking tournament. The newspaper's owner is amazed, as this has never happened before. He instructs his employees to be the first to publish this extraordinary news. The story starts in a special place where they're about to announce the qualifying round for a competition. Desir, Romantica, and Prem stand in front of their competitors. Romantica easily beats everyone with her winning move, and their rank goes up to 150. They then work together as a team, winning each time and climbing the ranks. Finally, Prem uses his sword to achieve a fantastic victory, reaching rank 30. The scene then shifts to director Bridget, who watches Desir's incredible success. However, she realizes that some people are targeting him. Newspapers and magazines extensively cover him, causing frustration for the professor because the beta class currently holds the 30th position. This could be the first time a class moves up to the alpha rank. The official is upset, not wanting them to tarnish the sacred alpha class. He expresses his frustration, apologizes for his behavior, and emphasizes that they have been chosen to join the prestigious Blue Moon. Despite being in their first year, they now bear the responsibility to protect and uphold its honor and traditions. In the final round of the competition, they are told to use any necessary means to eliminate opponents and prevent individual rankings. The official then talks to Azist, specifically asking if she has faced Desir, and if she can defeat him. Azist informs him that she has the advantage and can definitely defeat him. He reminds her that she is the leader of the first students in the Blue Moon Party and must respect it, ensuring victory for them. Azist speaks to herself, remembering the day she fought Desir, determined to overcome the taste of defeat she experienced before. She believes she can definitely defeat him with all the strength she has. The scene then shifts to Azist walking in a large corridor where two students, Donetta and Percival, stop her. Azist asks them what they want and if they have any objections to her being the leader. Donetta tells her that he knows how strong she is. He expresses his desire to fight Romantica alone because he wants to take her down, while Percival wants to face Prem. Azist advises them that their best chance of winning is by fighting together, but Donetta mentions they have personal reason. Azist allows them to do as they want but gives them an order. Desir is off limits for them, and she will face him one-on-one, wanting to defeat him with her full strength without interference. The scene shifts to Desir speaking to himself, acknowledging the sufficient skills of both Prem and Romantica, realizing they are ready for the next step. Next, Prem and Romantica are seen performing exercises. Spotting Desir, they run to him and ask about the special training for the final match. However, Desir reveals that there is no physical training involved. The scene then moves to the library, where Desir gives them history books. Romantica is shocked and shouts loudly, but Desir asks her to be silent. He explains that the final round of the classification competition will take place in the Shadow World, created by the Academy. In this world, historical events are created by various standards, and if they can prevent these events, they will secure the world of shadows, making it entirely safe. Prem understands the importance of historical knowledge in securing the Shadow World. Romantica expresses confusion as they don't know which events from which era will reoccur, and they are just reading books randomly. Desir teases them, suggesting they should read all the books in the library. Prem and Romantica are shocked, and Desir speaks to himself, knowing the Shadow World from his past but keeping this fact undisclosed to them. As everyone continues reading the books, Prem keeps looking in Desir's direction, wanting to thank him for everything. However, he feels too embarrassed to do so. Romantica notices Prem's attempt to avoid her, but still speaks to him in a very quiet voice so that no one else can hear. Romantica asks if Prem wants to confess his gratitude for everything Desir has done, like going shopping and keeping secrets, but Prem remains tight-lipped and doesn't say a word. Despite Romantica's persistence, their conversation becomes awkward, and they continue exchanging words in hushed tones. At one point, Pram accidentally drops his book on Desir's head. Desir gets mad and asks them to continue reading their books, and they all return to their reading. Suddenly, Azist walks over to their table. They have been constantly watching each other. Azist comments that it has been a long time, and Desir notes that it's been 2 months since their last battle. Desir mentions hearing that Azist has joined the Blue Moon, which he considers a wise choice as she deserves to be in the strongest faction at the Academy. Azist then informs him that she has come here today to declare war on him. Desir understood her intention even before she spoke. He tells her that it's in her nature to show respect to someone she knows is her opponent, and points out that she underestimated him on the day he defeated her. Azist apologizes for her previous actions, but assures him that she won't let him win this time. She's determined to defeat him with all her might. Desir looks at her with a mocking expression, understanding this is the spirit required to defeat her. Immediately, he knows that she must use this determination to become stronger. Desir recalls the time when he exerted himself to fight Azist, wanting to ignite her fighting spirit so they could change their future. He wishes her to continue evolving. Azist leaves the room, and we see in Desir's expression that he really wants to fight alongside her. The day of the ranking tournament finally arrives, and all the top 30 students gather for the event. Journalists are busy taking pictures of everything happening in front of them. In a dark alley, Desir, Pram, and Romantica stand together. Desir explains that this is the final round, a significant event in the Academy, and many people from the town are coming to witness the great battle. Pram feels like it's a festival, and Romantica notices that Desir is wearing a necktie correctly today. He tells her that he tied it this way for today but prefers it loose. Romantica asks if he's not hesitating in this matter, understanding that he's the kind of guy who loves showing off. Pram suggests finding a necktie for Desir after the competition so he won't be choked. After some thought, Desir agrees and tells them to be ready because it's competition time. Desir and his friends head to the battleground, and the entire crowd welcomes them. The three of them are the focus of high expectations, but it's interesting to note that while most groups have many participants, Desir's group only has 3 members. Azist's team is also seen along with Desir's team, and someone from another group comments that Desir doesn't seem strong. A girl advises them not to underestimate him and reminds them of what Professor Fregman said about Desir. The announcer kicks off the final round of the competition, explaining that participants must prevent a specific event in the Shadow World. Romantica points out that they don't know much about the Shadow World, and Desir tells him that not knowing is part of the mission. The announcer clarifies that in the Shadow World, using attack magic is allowed, but if someone takes lethal damage, they'll be disqualified. Participants securing the Shadow World will earn more points, and the top 9 will be titled Single Ranker. Desir thinks about how to secure an individual rank, emphasizing that in the Shadow World, they must either secure it themselves or defeat everyone there. The magic gates open, and a bright light captures everyone's attention. Desir reassures his friends that they will succeed, putting all their effort into it. They enter the gates, and Desir finds himself in a forest. The announcer mentions that their positions are random, urging them to do their best to secure the Shadow World. Desir's first priority is to find his friends, but suddenly, a girl attacks him with ice powers. Desir easily dodges her attacks, and the girl comments on being lucky to find him quickly. Desir seems unaware of his fame, and the girl taunts him, calling him infamous. She launches a powerful ice explosion, but Desir counters with his fire magic. The girl then uses another type of magic, directing a powerful aqua attack at him, which Desir withstands. She challenges him and asks if he has any last words before she defeats him. Desir tells her there's nothing, but he advises her to aim correctly, placing his hands on his abdomen. He tells her she lacks control over her magic, mocks her, and uses his power to break her spell. He warns her not to underestimate her opponent and always think about her next move, as these are the basics of the battlefield. Desir attacks her with an ice crystal in a fit of anger. She exclaims it's impossible for a commoner like him to defeat her, but Desir counters with full force from all directions, ultimately defeating her. An announcement is made about the elimination of the first participant. The story continues with an alpha class boy expressing dissatisfaction about being placed in an unfamiliar location. He's concerned that the sun might damage his good-looking skin. Despite this, he enjoys the pleasant breeze until a sudden powerful wind blast hits him in the face, causing him to be eliminated from the competition. Romantica is revealed to be the one who launched the attack. She and Pram quickly found each other in the game and are now searching for Desir. Romantica explains that they located each other swiftly because they were transported closer. Pram, worried about Desir's well-being, asks Romantica if she thinks he's okay. Romantica finds Pram's concern adorable, but shifts her focus to use magic to locate Desir. A gust of wind surrounds the area, revealing 2 participants on one side and a lone opponent on the other. Romantica attempts to cast a wind spell to eliminate one of the isolated participants, but the spell is intercepted, and more opponents she sensed showed up. The girl in the group explains that using detection magic exposes the caster's location to opponents. Another guy comments that it's no surprise Romantica didn't know this since she's from the beta class. Pram responds by taking his sword out ready to fight, and Romantica challenges the opponents to prove who among them is truly superior. The 2 Alpha class students express confidence in teaching Romantica and Pram the distinctions between their classes. Romantica is intrigued to see if the opponents can indeed defeat them. Pram surprises his opponent with an attack, but the guy blocks it and criticizes Pram for attacking while they were talking. Pram retreats, and Romantica realizes that these guys may not be as weak as they initially seem. The Alpha class guy reassures his partner, but advises her to stay on guard. Everyone gets ready for a fight as the official match is about to start. Pram and the guy dash towards each other, clashing in the middle. They reach a stalemate and return to their positions. The lady from the Alpha class fires a spell, but Pram easily dodges it. He moves around the battlefield so quickly that the Alpha class girl questions if he's really from the Beta class. The guy gets frustrated with Pram's speed and tries to obstruct his vision by slamming his blade on the ground, creating dust to cover the battlefield. He orders his partner to use area magic to blast away Pram, but Romantica has already located her and takes her out with a wind strike. Romantica then uses her wind magic to clear the dust. Pram distracts the Alpha class guy, leaving him open to a wind blast that eliminates him too. Romantica believes they might have won if they targeted her first, teaching the Alpha class not to underestimate the Beta class. The system notifies everyone of the latest disqualifications, and the Beta class men are happy with their victory. Romantica hopes their future opponents make the same mistake as the 2 they just face. She praises Pram for his improvement, but he credits their party leader, Desir. Hearing Desir's name reminds Romantica that he's around, and she calls for him to join them. Desir emerges with a smile, stating he held back to check their fighting skills. Romantica asks for his opinion on the fight, and he commends Pram for his amazing performance. Romantica recalls how Desir easily reversed her spell, feeling annoyed despite being in the same party. Desir pats her head, thinking she wanted acknowledgement, but she angrily pushes his hand away, clarifying that she didn't. The lady warns Desir never to touch her head again. Desir shifts his attention to the skies as clouds cover the area. Red lightning is produced, and the clock tower emits a magical wave. Time passes, and a strong party leader uses fire magic to defeat an opponent, reminding them it's not personal. As the system announces that the number of participants is down to 8, the Desir tell the 2 that there are 2 ways to get promoted to the Alpha class, finishing first by clearing the Shadow World or surviving and placing in the top 9. Romantica questions if they can clear the Shadow World, but the leader doubts it, as other participants would likely gang up on them during the process. This is because all remaining participants are Alpha class. Desir thinks they have a good chance of finishing in the top 9. He believes that if the other parties clash, more people will be disqualified. Since only 18 people are left, if 9 more are disqualified, they win. Romantica doesn't think it'll be as easy as Desir makes it sound, but Pram is confident, drawing a picture of everyone in the party. Suddenly, it starts raining. Pram spots a nearby tree for shelter. Desir realizes it won't stop soon, and Pram thinks it's nice, as they can enjoy their time together. Romantica reflects on how these moments with her party make her wonder if she would have aimed for Alpha class if she hadn't joined them. She thinks about what would have happened if she had accepted Donna's invitation while hiding the truth. Judging from Donata's reaction after she turned him down and confessed her commoner roots, she knows the fallout would have been bad. Desir pats her head, assuring her not to worry, and promises that they are truly getting stronger. However, she internally finds Desir to be a weirdo and warns him not to touch her head, also mentioning how annoying his smile is. On the contrary, Pram likes Desir's smile. Romantica looks away and smiles because she loves the party so much. Suddenly, a ring from the clock tower catches everyone's attention. Desir reminds them they are studying the previous clock tower as it chimes. The announcer reveals that the tower is a high-level magical device producing demons every hour. The tower generates lightning, shoots it into the sky, gathers it, processes it, and fires it to the ground, opening a crevasse. Red eyes shine from the darkness within the hole, and the announcer informs everyone that a survival quest has been generated. The clock tower has produced a new monster, and participants must survive the assault. In the monitoring room, teachers watch as Professor Furman gets excited, believing the beta class is going to get wiped out. He smugly turns back to look at Bridget, who has a worried look in her eyes. In the Shadow world, the trio hears a scream, and the system announces that another player has been eliminated. Desir instructs his party to step back while he figures out the situation. They notice a bad smell, and the ground breaks as a monster approaches. Desir orders the others to be on guard, and a demonic rat pops out. The trio recalls their traumatic experience with rats during HQ cleaning. The rat screams, and Desir senses trouble, telling his party to run. A pack of rats emerges, identified as Kildram mice, creatures that control other mice for battle and enjoy human blood. Desir suspects other parties are also under attack. Romantica fires a wind spell, but it doesn't work. The trio runs, jumping over a giant tree trunk blocking the path, while the rats follow. Desir reveals they must beat the one in command hiding in the pack. Desir lures it out using his blood, and Romantica hits it with a wind attack. The creature falls but quickly recovers, showing high magical resistance. Desir orders a retreat, but Pram casually walks into the sea of rats. Desir shouts worriedly, but Pram seems unfazed. Meanwhile, Blue Moon loses a member to the rats, and the Red Cloak party faces a similar problem. With the Beta squad, Pram stands in the center of the rat tornado, attempting to find the commander while being attacked. Pram believes the commander must have sustained damage from Romantica's spell. On the other side, Desir tries frantically to clear a path for Pram, but it doesn't work. Romantica offers to use her spell, but the leader is concerned it might hit Pram. Desir recalls a vision of a defeated Pram from another timeline, but is interrupted when Pram makes a powerful thrust, pinpointing the boss mouse. The system announces the defeat of the monster, concluding the survival quest. Pram collapses from fatigue, and Desir thanks him, taking him under a tree to rest. Desir punches himself for allowing Pram to risk his life, emphasizing the goal of not losing any friends again. As he returns, the others notice an injury on his face, but he assures them it's nothing. Desir asks Pram how he is. Pram says that he is good now. Desir then points to the previous clock tower as their destination. Desir pledges to take the perfect route to reach his goal, and not make the same mistake again. During this time, Blue Moon and the Red Cloak parties take care of their issues. The Green Cloak party leader, an archer, swiftly eliminates the monster and scolds a subordinate for letting his guard down. The leaders of the 4 remaining parties are shown. The story continues as Azist and her group stand in front of Pivius Tower, facing tough weather with thunder, clouds, and biting cold. They notice the clock tower and realize that if they can stop it, they will win the battle. However, a surprise attack from the north catches them off guard. They defend as best as they can, but the assault is strong, resulting in the loss of 2 group members. They admit that without Azist, they wouldn't have been able to repel such powerful strikes. Azist starts wondering who could be behind the attack, suspecting Desir of orchestrating it. The scene shifts to Desir, announcing that only 15 players remain after some eliminations. The combat intensifies, and Azist skillfully avoids a direct attack from Romantica. Romantica apologizes to Desir as her attacks are blocked. Desir mentions that it can't be helped with Azist on their side. Romantica believes that now the other teams know their location, but Desir dismisses its importance. Desir surprises Romantica by stating they need to deceive the other team. She explains that if they do that, all the teams will gather in one place, and they can eliminate them at once. She looks at Desir, who smiles, prompting Romantica to ask him to stop. Desir asks her to trust him. Romantica, initially skeptical, reluctantly agrees. She uses her magic to eliminate 2 participants. With only 13 players left, Desir unleashes his insane power. When Azist and her group open the door, they find 2 other teams. Gabriel questions if Azist's group was behind the outside attack. Donter responds, claiming they were also attacked, suggesting a possible misunderstanding. Azist asks if they have any proof, and Gabriel asserts that no one else except Azist's group could wield such high-level magic simultaneously. Azist fears they won't believe her if she reveals the beta team orchestrated the attack. She thinks this might be what Desir wants. Gabriel prepares to fight, and Donetta and Percival also take fighting positions. However, Azist asks them to stand down, mentioning she will handle it herself. This angers Gabriel, and he attacks Azist with his fire spell. Azist skillfully evades an attack and swiftly goes on the offensive. She uses her magic to trap one participant in ice and delivers a powerful kick to the other. Gabriel seeks assistance from the Pine Tree Party, emphasizing that they won't achieve individual rankings unless they defeat the Blue Moon Party immediately. The Pine Tree Party joins the attack, but Azist effortlessly handles all the participants. Meanwhile, Desir on the floor above hears the sounds of the intense battle. The fighting noises suddenly cease, leaving Romantica wondering if it's over. Desir clarifies that it's not, acknowledging their failure. He notes the absence of an announcement, and they all anxiously await the approaching footsteps. To their surprise, it's Azist, accompanied by Dona and Percival. Azist reveals that Desir's plan didn't succeed. Desir, not surprised, expected Azist's resilience. He confesses that his intention was to make the Alpha students fight among themselves. Azist explains that's why she chose to restrain them, but Desir suggests they would have been grateful if she had eliminated them. Azist opposes using such dirty tricks, urging Desir to face them directly if he truly desires to be a single ranker. Azist employs her ice magic to separate Desir from the others. Dona prevents Romantica from approaching Desir, informing her that he will be her opponent. Dona expresses surprise at their party's resilience and predicts their impending end. Percival intervenes, stopping Pram from pursuing Desir, declaring that Pram will face him. On the upper floor, Desir pretends to be defeated, but Azist sees through the act. She encourages him to get up, knowing he is only pretending. Desir responds by using the Stonebreak spell to attack Azist. However, she skillfully frees herself from the spell using her ice magic. Desir then reverses one of the ice pillars created by Azist, generating a cloud of smoke. Simultaneously, Pram engages in a fight with Percival. Percival headbutts Pram while crossing swords, intensifying their confrontation. Percival wonders if Pram has given up on using the great sword. Pram responds by saying that Percival talks too much. Percival becomes angry and attempts to attack Pram with multiple sword swings, but none of his attacks connect. Percival is confused about why his swordsmanship is ineffective, and he continues to attack, but Pram effortlessly dodges all the strikes. Percival wonders why his usual moves aren't working and thinks Pram seems like a completely different person. Pram surprises Percival by delivering a kick. In response, Percival asks how Pram became so strong so quickly. Pram refuses to answer, making Percival even angrier, and he wonders about Donetta's actions. Meanwhile, Donetta is engaged in a fight with Romantica. Romantica tries to attack him with wind spells, but Donetta easily deflects them. He comments on Romantica's being a level 2 mage, and Romantica realizes that she has low mana, and she is not good at in close quarters combat as well. Donetta decides to end the fight, but suddenly the smoke from Desir's spell covers the area where they are. Donetta thinks the smoke might obstruct his view, but it's okay because Romantica can't see either. Wondering about Romantica's next move, Donetta is surprised when she attacks, managing to graze him. Donetta wonders how Romantica keeps finding his location, and she attacks him once again. Donetta starts thinking about how Romantica is doing this and realizes she's using the wind to track him. Romantica, determined to defeat Donetta while the mist is still present, plans her strategy. However, Donetta wears a chemweapon and uses it to disperse the smoke. Seizing the advantage, he attacks Romantica. Donetta corners Romantica, and she questions if he's wearing an artifact. Donetta responds, claiming the item is too good for a commoner. Romantica confronts Donetta about his discrimination against commoner, asserting that in this place, whether noble or commoner, they are all students and human beings. She argues that Donetta can't change this fact by discriminating, but Donetta refuses to believe they're the same. Romantica challenges him to explain the difference, and Donetta asserts that everything is different from their status and power to talent. He insists that a commoner like Romantica shouldn't speak to him this way, believing there's no way he's the same as commoners. Donetta tells Romantica that she won't understand even if he explains and attacks her with a powerful blast spell. Romantica is severely injured, and Pram rushes to check on her. Romantica, though hurt, mentions she managed to barely guard against the attack. Donetta informs Percival that he will take on both Romantica and Pram, declaring that all commoners need to be eradicated. In response, Romantica asks Pram to hold off Donetta while she recovers her mana, and Pram prepares to face Donetta in a showdown. Donetta uses magic to trap Pram between two large stones, but Pram effortlessly cuts through them. He successfully cuts off the artifact that Donetta is wearing, injuring him in the process. Donetta is astonished that Pram had the audacity to harm him. Percival reminds Donetta that Pram is supposed to be his opponent, but Donetta dismisses him, declaring that he will handle the situation himself. Romantica checks on Pram, who assures her he's fine. Pram notes that Donetta is solely targeting Romantica, allowing him to land a hit. Romantica contemplates her options, realizing she can't beat Donetta without magic, but her current condition would only slow Pram down. Romantica asks Pram to take Percival elsewhere, stating she'll deal with Donetta alone. Pram, reading Romantica's true feelings, refuses her offer, insisting that the three of them will become single rankers together, the reason they formed the party. Pram recalls Desir's words about their strength and emphasizes their unity. Romantica, annoyed by Pram's smiling reminiscent of Desir, agrees to fight alongside him. Meanwhile, Desir faces off against Azist. Azist informs him that this time there's no goal like the entrance ceremony. They should fight to their heart's content. Azist attacks Desir with an ice spell, but he reverses it. She uses magic to walk on walls, but Desir inverts this magic as well. Azist is surprised by Desir's ability to reverse the spell. She attempts another ice spell, but Desir successfully inverts it. Desir retaliates with fire spells, but Azist defends herself using a barrier of ice. Desir is delighted to see Azist emerge unscathed and ready to fight, and Azist takes a fighting stance against Desir. The story continues with Azist puzzled about why she can't beat Desir, even though she's better than him in mana, casting speed, and fighting. Desir tells her to enjoy the fight, and Azist believes the only thing she lacks is experience in battles. Desir throws a fireball at Azist, but she dodges it and avoids the other fireballs he throws. Azist then attacks Desir with her sword, but he blocks it by using magic to make his body stronger. Despite this, Azist manages to send him flying. When she tries to attack him with her sword, Desir dodges her moves. Azist wonders why she can't defeat him, even though she's supposed to be much stronger. Desir asks if she's having fun, but Azist can't understand him. Desir suggests that because of Azist's strength, she might not have had a proper battle experience like this before. He recalls that she always seemed bored because there was no one strong enough to challenge her. Desir thinks Azist must be excited to fight someone she can't reach with her sword or magic. Azist admits she doesn't know if it's fun but expresses her desire to defeat Desir. She then uses a vision magic called Frozen Palace. Desir believes he can't counter this type of magic. Azist captures Desir with ice inside the Frozen Palace and attempts to attack him with various magic spells. However, Desir manages to counter all of them. Desir thinks that within Frozen Palace, Azist can cast spells without limits, a powerful skill she used as a trump card in the past. Despite his surprise at her skill level, Desir still counters all of Azist's spells. Azist tries to cast more spells, but Desir keeps countering them. He says increasing the number of spells is useless, claiming her magic can't reach him. Azist realizes that Desir can easily counter her spells and contemplates using her sword. However, she doubts the sword alone will be enough. Wondering what to do when both her sword and magic fall short, Azist gets an idea. She sheathes her sword and deactivates the Frozen Palace spell. Azist concentrates her magic on her sword, impressing Desir. Meanwhile, Pram is locked in combat with Donetta. Donetta swings his sword at Pram, but Pram skillfully dodges each attack. In a swift move, Pram kicks Donetta. Romantica, observing the battle, checks on Pram's well-being and asks if he's okay. Pram reassures her that he's fine but acknowledges Donetta's strength. He emphasizes the need to defeat Donetta before Percival joins the fight. Donetta, realizing the challenge, calls for assistance from Percival. Percival, however, is reluctant, stating that Donetta claimed he would handle the commoners on his own and doesn't want to waste more time on them. Percival criticizes Donetta's selfishness, but eventually agrees to help. To create an opening, Percival throws his sword at Pram, diverting his attention. While Pram deals with the thrown weapon, Percival and Donetta plan a coordinated attack on Pram and Romantica. Taking advantage of the distraction, Romantica employs her magic to simultaneously target both Percival and Donetta. Her magical assault effectively neutralizes them, bringing a temporary halt to their planned pincer attack. Afterward, Azist reveals that she has coated her sword with ice magic. Desir observes and recognizes it as a magic sword. He explains that it's an ultimate attack exclusive to Magic Knights, and mastering it usually takes about 10 years. Desir is astounded that Azist condensed this learning period into an instant. Azist, empowered with her magic sword, attempts to attack Desir, who responds by trying to stop her with a combination of fire and earth magic. Azist effortlessly counters both magical elements, asserting that Desir can't reverse her magic sword. Confident in her victory, she strikes Desir with the magic sword. However, her triumph is short-lived as she notices Desir has just applied his inverse spell to something. Intrigued, she wonders what he targeted and notices the clock tower glowing. An announcement follows, informing everyone that the mana supply to the previous clock tower has been cut off, and its activities have come to a halt. This marks the conclusion of the primary competition in the ranking battle. Those outside learn that the darkness shrouding the clock tower has dissipated, rendering it incapable of summoning demons any longer. Desir Arman is credited with clearing the tower, bringing joy to Bridget but sparking fury in Fergman. He vehemently expresses his refusal to accept this outcome. The story shifts to a meeting among teachers, where Fergman accuses Professor Bridget of cheating. Fergman argues that no commoner could both challenge a magic knight and clear the shadow world simultaneously. Some teachers agree with Fergman's suspicion, and a female teacher questions if he is accusing Bridget of leaking exam details to the student beforehand. Fergman confirms this accusation without providing proof. The female teacher, however, argues that everyone witnessed the battle, and she sees no evidence of cheating. Fergman insists on investigating further to uncover the truth. Some teachers intervene, urging Fergman to remember they are in the presence of the headmaster. The teachers then reveal a list of single rankers chosen by the headmaster, leading the female teacher to question the purpose of the meeting if decisions are already made. The headmaster explains that he sought their opinions, even if they include seemingly nonsensical ideas. The scene transitions to Aziz conversing with Desir. Desir reveals that their party's goal was to eliminate all Alpha class parties, leaving only 9 standing. Aziz, however, detected their plan and thwarted it. She believed they couldn't be single rankers unless they defeated her party. Desir clarifies that it wasn't just Aziz. The entire party was fixated on facing them. Consequently, they failed to see the party's true objective, clearing the shadow world. Desir recounts arriving early at the clock tower to analyze its complex formula. Recognizing its historical significance, he knew the task wouldn't be easy. With limited time, he successfully analyzed it during his one-on-one battle with Aziz. He acknowledges that if the remaining Alpha class students were present, he might have lost. Aziz commends Desir for looking beyond their personal fight and considering the bigger picture. Desir notes that this perspective also applied to the entrance exams. Aziz reveals that she's been falling into Desir's traps since their recent encounter, admitting complete defeat. Desir acknowledges that he narrowly avoided defeat and credits Aziz's almost faster sword. Romantica and Pram express that they would have stepped in for Desir if Aziz had been a bit quicker, having already defeated Donetta and Percival by that time. They question if Aziz has an issue with their victory. Desir explains to Romantica that they won because of her magic, and Pram is curious about Desir's contribution. Desir appreciates Pram's efforts and affectionately pats his head. Romantica protests the unfairness, but Desir also pats her head, jokingly stating that he didn't need permission. Aziz mentions that Professor Ferdman has called her, revealing she has a favor to ask Desir. Before leaving, Aziz inquires about joining their training sessions. Romantica objects, but Desir invites Aziz to join the training facilities every morning at 6 and after class. Aziz departs, and Desir suggests they should also leave to meet Professor Bridget, who is waiting for them. They rendezvous with Professor Bridget, and Romantica inquires about their results. Professor Bridget then retrieves a cake from her magical storage, and Romantica excitedly identifies it as the special cake from Bethwold Bakery. Desir expresses curiosity about the bakery's fame, prompting Romantica to explain that it's so popular that people have to wait 3 years after ordering a cake. Romantica believes their success is evident since Professor Bridget brought out this coveted cake, and Bridget confirms their achievement. Bridget announces that all 3 of them are now registered as single rankers and have been promoted to Alpha class. To celebrate, they indulge in the delicious cake, and Desir expresses gratitude to Professor Bridget for her support. Bridget casually mentions that it's fine, considering they made a certain nasty pig squeal. As the others enjoy the cake, Bridget reminisces about the time when Desir was a child at the orphanage. While other kids played, Desir approached Professor Bridget, asking her to teach him magic. Despite initially struggling, Desir practiced and improved, ultimately becoming remarkably strong. Meanwhile, elsewhere, a group of individuals is plotting to infiltrate the magic tower. The story continues, as the group decides to celebrate their promotion by going out for fun. However, Romantica notices that Desir doesn't seem happy about it. She explains that after the break, they will be part of the Alpha class, and they will have no time to have fun. Pram, full of enthusiasm, encourages Desir to enjoy himself, and eventually, Desir gives in and decides to have some fun. They head to the shopping mall where Romantica takes the opportunity to try on various new clothes. The guys evaluate her appearance, but Desir doesn't seem overly impressed. He casually comments that she looks good in everything, which annoys Romantica. In response to his lack of excitement, she decides to try on even more new stuff. This time, Desir starts giving her several compliments, making Romantica happy about herself. However, her joy is short-lived when she realizes that Desir is actually talking about Pram, who is also trying on new clothes. Scene changes and we see Desir finds himself in an awkward position, barely holding himself, as Pram takes an eternity to pick out a tie. Pram contemplates the colors and their meanings, making Desir signal to Romantica with his eyes that he needs help. She tells him it's impossible because they can't do anything about Pram's indecisiveness. After some time, they finally manage to get Desir a tie. Romantica even complains that Pram took much more time to pick his stuff compared to herself. They notice a new store and get excited to go inside. Desir thinks they're too energetic when suddenly Aziz calls his name. Desir is surprised to see her, and she asks if the shopping mall doesn't suit her. Desir denies, and Aziz explains that sometimes she needs a change of pace. Desir then invites her to join them in the arcade, but she turns serious, thinking it's a chance for revenge in the ranking battle. Desir tries to explain that it's just for fun, and Aziz replies that she was kidding. Still, nobody really knows because she's always serious. She accepts the invitation, and they decide to join Pram, who's trying to get some plush from the arcade machine. He happily manages to get his teddy bear, but they freak out when they notice Desir alongside Aziz. They angrily ask what she's doing there, and Desir simply mentions that she will have fun with them. Suddenly, Aziz picks up Pram and places him by Desir's side. She asks if everything is better, and Pram quickly turns from angry to happy, telling her to join them and have fun. Romantica can't believe this and calls him a traitor. Desir then notices something and points at it, asking if they should play it. They form teams, but Pram complains that he wants to be on Desir's team instead of Aziz. Desir laughs and says they can be together next time, but Romantica gets serious as they're about to start the game. Everyone turns serious, and Desir tells Romantica that they're about to face the top swordsman and a magic knight from the academy. Therefore, she can't let her guard down. Romantica looks at Pram, who starts showing off his aura and promises to finish the game quickly so he can join Desir's party. The disc hits the air hockey table, and Pram strikes it. Desir thinks it's too fast but manages to defend. Aziz tries to score, but Romantica hits the disc and uses her wind magic to score a point. Pram and Aziz can't believe they just got beaten. They look at Romantica, who shows her wind aura and asks if they dare to challenge her. However, Desir knows he's doomed and tells her that magic is forbidden. Still, Aziz decides to also go serious. She hits the disc, but Romantica thinks it's too easy. Aziz suddenly uses her ice magic to create a wall and change the disc's direction. Pram thinks this point was quite amazing, and Desir realizes that Aziz hates to lose. However, that only motivates Romantica to give it her all. Everyone uses their abilities to play the game, reminding Desir of their skills from his past life. This allows Aziz's team to score a point. They keep playing, and Romantica asks Desir to pay attention as the disc is coming their way. Aziz uses her ice magic, but Desir uses his skill to reverse the ice and smashes the disc straight into their net. Aziz can't believe it but asks if he's finally taking it seriously. Desir simply replies that the game is about to start. After having so much fun, it's time to part ways. Desir thanks Aziz for hanging out with them, but she reveals that it was nice to have some fun. Romantica is pretty happy because they won't see Aziz in the near future. Pram and Desir are confused by that statement because not only are they in the same class, but Desir also invited her to train with them. Romantica realizes her mistakes, admitting that she forgot about it. In the following days, they finally enter the Alpha classroom and notice that it looks much better than the Beta one. Pram is also happy because he got a tablet to help with study, but it has a wallpaper of Desir. Romantica is happy with all the conditions, but she's shocked to see Desir, who tells her it's time for their morning training. They head back to their training room with Aziz and start warming up. Aziz is assigned to train her sword skills with Pram and manages to block the attacks. Desir then shows her the magic control training that he made Romantica do. Aziz lifts the ball to put it on the other circle but fails midway. Romantica uses this chance to show off. She lifts the ball, moves it at high speed, and suddenly stops when it reaches the circle. She is proud to finally beat Aziz until Desir brings out 5 more balls. Her task is to control them at the same time and do the same. She manages to do it, but Desir doesn't stop there. He brings out a total of 10 balls, but she uses them to get revenge on him. However, during the training period, Romantica starts giving Aziz some tips on how to control her magic. By the end of the session, Aziz realizes that Desir developed an optimal training that suits everyone's abilities. Desir tells her they will continue their training after class, and Aziz leaves. However, Romantica is completely exhausted. She complains that this session was too harsh, but Desir replies that they have no time left. She asks if what he told them in the other days is true, and Desir confirms that their next battle will be a real one. If they make a wrong move, it could cost them their lives. Despite being rough, he wants them to be stronger. Pram claims that he trusts Desir, and Romantica also gets up, mentioning that she doesn't doubt him. During class, the teacher explains that humanity is still at war in Shadow Worlds. She reveals that this calamity happens once a year and engulfs their whole world. That's the reason why their world lost half of its land. However, their current Shadow World subjugating rate is nearly 99.9%. She explains that's thanks to being able to use magic gems, which are crystallized mana that can be obtained by clearing shadow worlds. However, they contain a huge amount of mana and cannot be used as they are. 50 years ago, the Tower of Magic managed to find a processing technique that allowed them to use magic gems. As a result, that mana was produced to benefit humanity, creating trains, tablets, phones, among other things. She asks if someone knows who created this processing technique and picks Romantica to answer. However, it turns out she was asleep during class and didn't know the answer for a question she didn't hear. Desir helps her by saying it was Zod Exarian, the master of the tower. The teacher confirms it's the right answer, and Desir teases her, telling her she needs to pay attention in class. Romantica complains about how hard his training sessions are, but he laughs it off, and the class ends. Desir's group goes up to the teacher. She doesn't know their names, but Desir introduces himself. The teacher realizes he's the student from the beta class who became a single ranker. She thinks he might have some questions. However, Desir has a different request for her. Initially, she believes he might want sponsorship for his party. After all, every party can ask for sponsorship from the Academy or the Tower of Magic. But she points out that the application period for sponsorship is already over. Desir corrects her, stating that's not what he's asking for. He pulls out a paper and tells her that's his request. As the teacher reads the paper, she finds it odd because it's a commission form. She notices it's for the protection of the Magic Tower of Hireli Branch. The professor is confused, but Desir steps in to clarify. He explains that the Academy should be able to give a commission to each party. The teacher acknowledges this, and Desir then asks her to grant them that commission. However, she rejects the request because she doesn't see a reason for it. Puzzled, she questions why he wants the commission he just brought up. Desir, undeterred, asks if the magic stone named Tear of Rejournal is kept inside the Hireli Tower branch. The teacher's reaction is strange, and she asks him how he knows such a secret. Desir calmly replies that in 10 hours, a group of people, known as the Outers, will attempt to steal it. Hearing this, the teacher is not only surprised but genuinely shocked. She contemplates the secret item and wonders how Desir, who was a beta class student just a few days ago, knows so much. Desir claims he doesn't have the time to explain because, if the commission isn't accepted, the magic stone will be stolen. He urges her to reconsider and give them the commission because she's the only person who can prevent the theft. 10 hours later, the Master of the Tower of Magic receives an urgent message reporting an attack on the Hireli branch. The Master, initially skeptical, realizes that everything Desir mentioned is true. To confirm, he checks his tablet where Desir's file is open. Looking at it, he wonders who Desir is. The story continues as we look outside the tower. A guy is running with a bunch of bread in his hands. He accidentally bumps into someone named Kren and falls, but Kren can make the food float. The kid says sorry, but Kren is okay with it and asks if the kid is hurt. The kid is fine, and Kren helps the weak little kid up. Curious, Kren asks why the kid is in a hurry. The kid explains that he has a little brother at home who is hungry. Feeling sympathetic, Kren suggests the kid hurry home. Before letting him go, Kren advises the kid to be careful, especially since things get dangerous at night. However, things take a turn when Kren unexpectedly drops the bread and crushes it on the ground, revealing the kind of trouble he warned about. He tells the kid to be more careful next time and leaves. As he walks away, someone appears next to him, contemplating whether to end the kid's life. Ultimately, the decision is made to spare the kid. The scene shifts, and we learn that the seemingly weak kid is actually heading towards the Tower of Magic. Kren arrives at the tower's entrance and puts on his mask. He informs his minions that it's time to begin, and a massive army reveals itself. The soldiers prepare spells, and Kren orders them to unleash fire and ice spells on the tower. Despite the powerful defense of the Tower of Magic, Kren is confident that he can break through. He calls for another wave of his men, explaining that the tower's defense can't block two different types of attacks at once. The second wave focuses on using physical attacks on the tower, intensifying the assault. The big guy, Kren, instructs everyone to keep putting pressure on the tower's defenses. The continuous attacks create immense pressure on the barrier, eventually causing it to shatter. The minions charge in, and some guards inside the tower try to stop the intruders. Kren orders his men to eliminate the guards, and the goons easily block the guards' weak attacks. Sword fights break out everywhere, but Kren, the big boss, notices that the guards are wearing armor. Kren moves forward through the battle and becomes invisible. Guards on another floor rush to help their colleagues, but Kren appears after they leave. He calls them fools but realizes there's something strange about their behavior. Finally reaching his destination, we see that Kren's target is a valuable magical gem. Kren has his men surround the magical gem, and they use every spell in the book to attack its protective barrier. However, their attacks fail. Frustrated, Kren tells everyone to step aside so he can handle the situation. He casts a spell called Earth Rage, which completely destroys the barrier. In the process, he also crushes the box containing the magical gem. To his surprise, Kren is shocked by the beauty of the high-tier gem that is now exposed. Suddenly, everyone is shocked as a voice calls them the Outers and tells them to stop what they're doing. The voice turns out to be Pram, and he instructs them to surrender. Everyone wonders why a kid like Pram is there, and Kren quickly hides their valuable gem. Curious, Kren wants to know how Pram knew they were Outers. Pram, realizing Kren is really strong, doesn't answer. Instead, Kren commands his men to eliminate the kid. The goons attempt to use magic to defeat Pram, but he skillfully evades all of it. Facing Kren, Pram breaks down his opponents and figures out that there are 2 swordsmen and 4 mages. Their power seems equal to Romantica's, and Pram easily destroys their magic. The goons decide to stay back since Pram seems strong against magic. However, they don't realize that Pram is also a skilled close-range fighter who can quickly close the gap. Frustrated by the little kid destroying his men, Kren decides he's had enough. He uses an entangle spell to stop Pram in his tracks. With Pram unable to move, Kren follows up with an earth spell to create a fist and punch Pram right in the gut. Kren acknowledges the kid's skill but points out that he lacks experience. Kren tries to capture Pram with a chain spell, but Pram tells him it's too slow. However, it turns out to be a distraction, as Kren captures Pram in another spell. Kren recognizes that Pram is a Havrion student, and sees this as an opportunity for him to learn from the experience. However, Pram clarifies that he will have to survive the next attack first. Pram is in a tough situation as Kren's men unleash their attack. Just in the nick of time, Romantica comes to Pram's rescue, remaining hidden to confuse everyone. She beats down on Kren's men, and one guy even sacrifices himself to save Kren from being hit. Kren notices that the attacks are not powerful enough to penetrate armor, but somehow they still cause serious damage. He easily blocks more of Romantica's attacks and continues analyzing the situation. The accuracy, speed, and number of spells make him wonder if there is more than one attacker. This, combined with the strange behavior of the guards, makes him suspect that they somehow knew they were coming. Despite these thoughts, Kren reminds himself to stay focused on the objective and instructs all his goons to cover him. The walls around Pram crumble, and Kren bids farewell to his opponent. Pram takes down some goons on his way to stop Kren, but he is met by another goon. Pram nearly overpowers this one too, but Kren was preparing a spell before leaving. Pram gets pushed back, but it's just a momentary setback. Pram pushes forward once more, yet Kren seems to have endless amounts of magic. Kren, acting like some kind of tyrant, launches his next attack. It misses Pram but sends Kren's own men falling through the ground. Pram can't believe that Kren would do this to his own soldiers, but Kren reveals that there are plenty of replacement. Pram attempts to attack the villain, but he fails, and Kren, the evil guy, informs him that his sword skills are good but ineffective. Kren starts surrounding himself with rocks, making it difficult for Pram to break through. Kren dismissively says it's hopeless as more rocks keep coming, expressing disappointment that Pram doesn't have more moves. Moreover, Kren discovers the source of other attacks and forces Romantica out of hiding. Kren never expected kids to interrupt his plan, and he wonders who is leading them. It's evident that they knew he was coming, and he demands an answer. However, the kids refuse to respond. Kren warns them that if they don't reveal the information, he will make them experience something more terrifying than death. Romantica isn't scared and launches airballs at him, displaying impressive control. Kren compliments her accuracy, but points out that she lacks power. Romantica hits him in the face with a rock and thanks him for the lesson. The two engage in an attack, but their moves cancel each other out. Pram tries to attack amid the confusion, but Kren is done playing with them. He prepares another dangerous attack, and Romantica warns Pram to get away. Kren unleashes a more powerful version of Earth Rage, destroying the entire room. Kren escapes, and our heroes barely manage to survive. Although they completely lost, they don't seem upset and instead think that they need more training from Desir. The reason for their lack of distress becomes apparent as they wonder if they completed their part of the plan well enough below the tower. The mysterious figure in the cloak is revealed to be Desir. Kraken questions how Desir knew he was there. Desir explains that he marked Kraken with his mana earlier. Kraken thinks the whole situation must be Desir's doing. Kraken laughs, acknowledging Desir's clever move for someone so young, but warns him that he will regret interfering. Kraken then attempts to attack Desir using earth magic, but Desir effortlessly reverses the spell. Kraken is surprised, and Desir states it's time for Kraken to return what he stole. Kraken tries another spell, only for Desir to reverse it as well. Bewildered, Kraken realizes Desir is somehow reversing his spells. He deems it impossible and attempts a more powerful spell, but Desir effortlessly inverts it too. Desir explains that attacking him with spells is futile and moves closer to Kraken. Thing continues as Kraken warns Desir not to come closer or he'll destroy Reborn's tears. Desir responds, telling Kraken to go ahead if that's what he wants. Desir then strikes Kraken with a gravity spell, immobilizing him. Kraken is amazed at how quickly Desir casts such a high-level spell. Desir seizes Reborn's tears, using it to draw mana. Kraken is puzzled about how Desir extracts mana from an unprocessed gem. Desir dismisses Kraken's curiosity and intensifies the power of his gravity spell to crush him. In a final attempt, Kraken taps into the power of his mask, transforming into a demonic entity. He launches an attack at Desir, who manages to block it but sustains some injuries. Kraken continues to land blows on Desir, who retaliates with a fire attack. However, the fire doesn't affect Kraken. Undeterred, Kraken attacks Desir barehanded. Desir skillfully dodges all the attacks and counters with another fire spell. Unfortunately, this spell also proves ineffective against Kraken. Kraken retaliates with a magic attack, confidently stating that Desir's level of attack won't harm him. Desir is astonished to learn that Kraken can also use magic in his transformed state. Kraken launches another spell at Desir, who attempts to reverse it. However, Kraken declares he won't give Desir enough time to reverse it and attacks him with a combination of fists and magic, not allowing Desir a moment to breathe. Kraken even hurls Desir into the air, creating spikes on the ground. Desir, though, manages to reverse the spikes before landing, showcasing his persistence. Kraken then unleashes a potent spell, confident it will be the end for Desir. Despite Desir's attempts to reverse the spell, it takes shape immediately after being reversed. Desir realizes his inversion won't work on this spell. Kraken forms a weapon with the spell and attacks Desir. Desir defends himself with multiple magical shields. Kraken systematically breaks through each shield, creating a massive cloud of smoke on the battlefield. Thinking he has defeated Desir, Kraken laughs, claiming Desir's consequence for opposing the Outers. However, he soon realizes Desir is unharmed, and his weapon has broken instead. Desir explains that the spell was rare, requiring some time to analyze. He then successfully reverses Kraken's armor. Astonished, Kraken attempts to attack Desir, who draws mana from the gem and casts a fireball spell. The spell connects, effectively taking out Kraken. Kraken questions Desir about his true identity, but Desir admits he doesn't have a clear answer to that. However, he believes he knows his role. Romantica and Pram arrive at the scene. Pram embraces Desir, and a shadow that had been watching Desir's fight departs. The scene shifts to the magical tower headquarters, where Professor Prelude asks Desir if he's certain about his chosen reward for safeguarding Reborn's tears. Desir affirms his desire for a chess match against the Tower Master. Prelude finds Desir's request unusual, and remarks that the Tower Master, too, is eccentric for accepting such a challenge. She escorts Desir to meet the Tower Master, emphasizing that her involvement ends there and advising him to behave. Upon meeting the Tower Master, Zod, Desir expresses gratitude and introduces himself. Desir declares Zod the strongest mage both presently and in the future, considering him an irreplaceable friend. Zod invites Desir to take a seat, acknowledging the limited time he has due to a meeting in 27 minutes. Desir thanks Zod for making time and expresses his eagerness for their chess game. Zod inquires if Desir has any preferred rules for the game, and Desir requests the herbal method. Zod finds this an uncommon choice, as few in the vicinity are familiar with those rules. Nevertheless, Zod arranges the board according to the herbal method. Desir reveals he learned this method from a good friend, indicating his future self, who compelled him to learn it. Zod sympathizes, acknowledging it must have been challenging. Desir reflects that it's now a fond memory, as they commence their chess game. As the chess game progresses, Zod acknowledges Desir's skill, and Desir thanks him for the compliment. However, Zod notes that Desir still has much to learn after making a move. Zod mentions that he might make it to the meeting at this rate. Desir agrees, suggesting they make a wager. He proposes that the loser grants a wish for the winner. Zod dismisses the idea, stating that Desir won't be able to fulfill his wish. Desir notices unprocessed gems on Zod's desk, and wonders if he can borrow them. Zod consents, and Desir demonstrates his ability to use mana from unprocessed gems. Intrigued, Zod questions how Desir accomplishes this. Desir declares that revealing the answer will be his wager. Zod agrees, stating Desir will explain if he wins. Zod asks Desir about his wish, but Desir defers the answer until he wins. They resume their game, with Desir determined to give it his all. The scene shifts to Azist at a party for Blue Moon members in Fergman's villa. Fergman requests Azist's help in lifting the spirits of the crowd, citing unpleasant rumors due to their loss in the ranking tournament. Azist, uninterested, acknowledges the loss and rejects the idea of hiding or lying about it. Fergman blames Azist for the defeat, stating it wouldn't have happened if she had defeated Desir's team. Frustrated, Fergman suggests she leave the Blue Moon party if she has complaints. Azist contemplates her party and Desir's team, deciding it's not a bad idea. She quits the Blue Moon party and departs. The scene then transitions to Pram holding a teddy bear, leading Romantica to comment that it reminds her of someone and appears somewhat irritating. Pram finds the teddy bear cute, and Desir praises both Pram and Romantica for their efforts against the Outers. He credits them for recovering Returnal's tears. However, Romantica disagrees, stating they had no chance against Kraken and need to become stronger. Desir confirms that's his point. Pram questions why Desir wants them to strive for strength, and Desir reveals that a shadow world will emerge in 13 days. They'll be sent to conquer it, an experience vastly different from their academy simulations. Desir emphasizes the gravity of the task. Failure could bring the world closer to doom, and they could lose their lives. He's determined to prevent this and vows not to let anyone die. Romantica, recalling Desir's accurate predictions about the previous clock tower and the Outers, expresses confidence that Desir's warning about the shadow world will also come true. Intrigued and puzzled by Desir's mysterious strength and insights, Romantica decides to uncover his secret herself. She insists Desir not reveal it yet, even as Desir attempts to explain. Romantica covers her ears, refusing to hear the explanation. Pram, however, expresses his belief in Desir, and Desir appreciates his trust. Desir stresses the need for all of them to become stronger, acknowledging that the journey won't be easy, but urging them to persevere. Following this, Desir takes on the role of training Romantica, while Pram seeks guidance from a teacher to improve his skills. Desir also extends his training to Azist, and over time, they all commit to rigorous training sessions to enhance their magical abilities and physical strength. As their training progresses, each member manages to acquire new skills and insights. The passage of 13 days marks the culmination of their preparation. Suddenly, an emergency announcement echoes throughout the academy, informing all students about the emergence of a shadow world. Everyone is instructed to gather at the auditorium. Romantica, clad in her combat uniform, receives a compliment from Desir, who also praises Pram's appearance. The trio readies themselves for teleportation to the shadow world, and Azist joins them, having officially become part of their party. Romantica approves of Azist's inclusion, recognizing the value of having someone with her abilities on their team. Desir reflects on the significance of this moment, feeling a sense of purpose in being brought back to this place. He is determined to save the world alongside his friends. With their preparations complete, they enter the shadow world, ready to face whatever challenges await them. This brings an end to our episode. If you enjoyed it, then don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.